Welcome to Fashionably Late. You are well. We have a guest today. A guest that you've listened to before, if you've been a longtime listener follower. You might remember Lennox as Leo. Let me reintroduce them. Lennox is in his house.
What's up, friends?
What's up, dude? I had to get you on the podcast because I know I'm not the only one feeling it, and I didn't want to. I don't want to be alone with it in my head. And I was like, you know what? Oh, baby, you want to fix that light? You want to know, like, I was like, we need people right now representing their thoughts, opinions, and the safe space. And I thought, let's get Lennox back on.
Yeah, it's it's been really interesting, right? Because recently I've been sort of pulling back from public facing like engagements and just like taking some time for myself and trying to just like be a human, right?
Mhm.
But I don't feel like I can do that right now, and I don't know what that means.
Mhm.
Um, but like the one thing we can't do right now is be quieter, you know?
Right. I've been struggling with that a little bit lately, like the being quieter. Oh, when to know when to be quiet and when to know when to be loud, especially for the people in the back. And um, I'll just kind of share a little bit of what I'm going through right now is the difference of the algorithms from TikTok to Instagram. And I don't have a strong community on Instagram, and the people that
Hmm.
You don't have
share
any community on
I don't have a
Instagram.
community. So when I do post a video about non-binary, trans, anything LGBTQ, a lot of the times it gets served to the wrong people, and it's a lot of
Hmm.
just hate being
Yeah.
thrown at me. I mean, since I woke up this morning, I've been told to jump off a bridge. I've been told I don't exist. I've been told I need to be put in a rubber room. I've been told all kinds of stuff. And as much as I'll go to their profile page and I'll be like, of course you love Jesus all over your fucking page. Of course
Right.
you're painting rocks with like very inspirational quotes of love and joy and happiness. Of course you are.
Hmm.
And it's upsetting to me because I want to say something back, right?
Hmm.
I want to fuel back. I want to
Retaliate.
retaliate, but at the same time I'm like I'll type something out and then I sit with it and I'm like I'm not mean like that. That's not
Hmm.
me. And I can't let
Hmm.
that person make me mean like that. So I've been blocking and now recently reporting when I feel like it's truly
Hmm.
harassment. I've been reporting and I feel like to silence MAGA, you have to really give them the silence that they
Hmm.
deserve and block them instantly and kind of clean. It's like I had this thought, what if God's plan the whole time was to expose all of these people, like to create this division and expose the real true people that need to like remove their mask and like show
Hmm.
their real true colors, right? And now you have all these people who stand for something, and usually it's Christianity, and they're full of hate and they're full of venom and they're say some horrible things to people, um and but now it's like we see those true colors and we can say, wow, that's the real evil. Like that's the
Right.
real evil. That might be the plan to separate people, is like who
Hmm.
are the good ones, who are the bad ones.
Hmm. It's so hard too because I feel like the lines are so skewed when it comes to good and bad right now. So like where I live is small town America, right? Like 13,000 people or less. And I had to go to Walmart I think it was like 2 days ago. And I usually try to do Walmart pickup because I just can't deal with that craziness.
Mhm.
But I had to actually go into Walmart. And I found myself like getting like tightness in my chest, getting anxiety. My thoughts were like racing. And the thought that sort of kept racing through my head was like, how many of these people actively voted against my existence? Right.
That's you're explaining to a T how I feel going anywhere right now in
Yep.
Wisconsin.
Especially where we live. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You guys get it, right? You
Yeah.
guys
Oh,
get
yeah.
small
When you're
town.
yeah, when you're stuck in a red state and it's small town and you're
Mhm.
driving past sign after sign supporting a man full of hate and
Mhm.
horrible things, um every area that I am walking through, I am scanning and I'm
Mhm.
thinking, did this person vote for Trump? Do
Mhm.
I need to be concerned? like head up, eyes open, be aware of every area that I'm in because I don't feel safe. And
Yeah.
I think for the first time in my life, I am dealing with no longer straight passing. I'm no longer
Hmm.
straight passing. I don't have the long hair, and I'm not putting on the makeup and wearing some of the clothes that still make me fit a certain
Hmm.
style, you know?
It's difficult because like I feel like the real rub that I run into is like you guys have known me long enough to know that my sort of whole goal in life is to be outspoken against injustice. It's not even like a goal. It's like an intrinsic desire that sometimes I frankly wish I could get rid of, but I cannot. And so I find myself skirting this line where like in my town, I'm really well known for being super gay. And I find myself wanting to be less visible. Like currently right now I have to figure out what to do with my forms of ID because like they're 50-50 split between male and female. I never went with the X marker, and I actually have a child who wants to change their name and their gender to X, and I'm pretty sure I'm like going to advise them to not, because I don't it's not a great decision right now. And I'm in a spot where I have 50-50, right? Like kind of 50-50 shot at invisibility, in terms of gender. And I find myself with this desire to like shrink, and like what part of it is letting that sort of hate win, and what part of it is like being intelligent and measured, and smart with my own safety. And I can't figure it out. I can't figure out the line, because for me, the line has always been very clear. I've always known, like, I've always had a strong moral compass. And my moral compass always defaults to help others. And visibility, as we know, is a massively powerful tool to help others. And I find myself for the first time in my life wanting to be invisible. And I
Yep.
don't know what to do with that. I really don't know. Sometimes, like, I have a little bit of solace because I'm in a blue state. So, really, things can go to hell in a handbasket for quite some time before, like, New York State would be affected. But if I want to leave this state to go, 12 minutes south to Pennsylvania, my brain is literally making me an agoraphobic at the moment. Like it's safer to be invisible and to stay in. I'm trying to, I guess, discern whether I should be out and agitating the system of power, or whether I should be smart and measured and calculated and maybe choose to be quiet a little bit. And I don't know what to do. It's the first time in my life I haven't had a real strong bead, right, about what I should be doing.
I think right now it's like almost situational.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah, for
depends
sure.
on where you are and who you're surrounding yourself with. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
I don't
think,
deal with it because I am straight passing. So
right.
I'm kind of on the other end of things where like lately I've been talking about like what I can do from where I'm at. Like, because
Hmm.
I feel like to hear you guys say like I want to be invisible, I want to disappear, like I just feel like I want to like fight for that. But
Hmm.
what do you do?
Right.
You know?
What do you do? And what do you do also knowing that, like, so far, all of the executive orders and actions and stuff that have been taken were parts of Project 25 or 2025. And one of the objective aims of Project 2025 was to repeal same sex marriage equality. So, on one level, like on a gender level, I'm I could be invisible if I wanted to, but I'm never not going to be married to a woman. Like, even if I get all my IDs matching, like, I'm married to a woman, a loud ass, beautiful woman who's not going to go quietly into the night. And that's my wife, that's my partner. Like, how do we navigate this? We've been having a lot of conversations lately. Like, what do we tell our kids to do? Like, what do
Right,
we
like
do?
can I ask, like, when you and Elle are in public as of recently with these new feelings that you've been having, do you find yourself not wanting to like hold her hand or not be as publicly displaying of your love? Because like I'm on the opposite end of that. I'm
Mhm.
like, give me your hand right now the minute we walk into public so that I can be loud, like as loud as I can.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't so the anxiety and invisibility doesn't so much come into play when I'm with Elle, which is kind of funny because like I think because my gender journey has been so expansive and so like non-linear or non-binary, right? I almost forget that I'm queer. Like, I forget that I'm a lesbian. Like, to me, being married to Elle is the most normal thing in the world, right?
The
Like, I don't,
easiest, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's like easy. I don't see any difference between us and a straight couple, namely because there's not one. But like, understand what I'm saying here. I don't feel any different about that. Um, and we are pretty. There's really nowhere you're going to go in our town where people aren't going to know that we're a couple. We just kind of, our spot got blown up during COVID and the George Floyd protests. We're pretty out and aggressively out and proud with our business. And our business actually, someone actually vandalized our business, threw a brick through our front window. And we went pretty much viral for that, like overnight. So you're not going to find a lot of people without an opinion on Elle and I in our lived area. Um, I'm not, the one thing in my life I can't ever do is pretend to be ashamed that I'm married to Elle, because it's the thing I'm like most proud of in my life, which is, I think, probably beneficial in this moment. Um, it's that to me is the most normal thing. And I think if something were to happen where federally same-sex marriage equality was repealed, I think um that would create some big dissonance for me. Like I said, luckily we live in a blue state, right? New York had legalized same-sex marriage before the federal Marriage Equality Act went through, so we're lucky in that regard. We're also lucky in that we have a Canadian border. So there's a lot of privilege that we do have in that, but the writing has been on the wall for a long time, and I don't know what to do. I just know that I'm going to keep loving Elle, and I'm going to keep being myself. Um, and I guess I just hope that that's not a hazard or a cause for like public unsafety, like.
Yeah, I try to wrap my head around it a little bit because I we don't legally want Ember and I do not legally want to be married on paper.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
A lot of people, some people understand it and some people don't. And so
Yeah.
if we were legally married on paper and somebody took that away from us, yes, it would be devastating, but I don't think it would. To me, it's just a piece of paper. It wouldn't
Right.
change anything. I wouldn't go about doing anything differently.
Hmm.
And I think that's why, for me, not being like, when we do decide to, make that commitment to each other, I think I don't feel I don't feel worried or scared because I'm like, nobody's taking
Hmm.
that from me. But you said safety,
Hmm.
and that right there is something I feel like nobody's going to take away the love that you and Elle have for each other.
Right.
But the safety for the two of you to be
Hmm.
existing together, that's the scary part.
Hmm.
Hard to love
Absolutely.
someone if you're dead.
Yeah, like really, it's the absolute truth. And like, what the problem is, that like, Trump is not all powerful. He's pretty close to it because he's rich, and our society values that. But the scariest part to me is not necessarily what's happening at a federal level, but it is the sense of freedom and empowerment that it has given people who have these hateful attitudes,
Mhm.
and what they can do, the people that they live in and around. And I think that's the biggest worry for me. There, I'm trying to separate everything, right? Because there could be so many reasons to panic right now, and the only way I'm going to cope with any sort of anxiety and figure out how to stay true to my moral compass is to break things down,
Mm.
right? You have legal things that are happening on a federal level, right? So there's not a ton I can do about that. There are things I can do, right? Like I can vote of marginal success because voting. But I can be a part of organizations that are protesting and that are engaging in concerted public facing actions. I can do those sorts of things. Okay, so I've set that worry aside in my mind. I can do state level and local level advocacy, much along those same lines, right? I can do direct actions, and I can be involved in civil disobedience if need be. Okay, set those aside. But at the fundamental level, it's just this daily life thing where we have to learn to live and cope in a system that would rather see us not exist. I
Mhm.
think for me, the only thing I've found to hold on to right now He was a good counselor and trying to find wisdom from the people who have done this before. So largely like Black women, and people of color who have been organizing for racial justice for a long time. It's cute that I, as a white person who's able-bodied and English speaking and of, Christian identification, it's cute that I feel scared. There are communities of people who've been feeling this scared for a lot longer. And so
100%.
I think the only thing that I can do right now is try to handle like my mental, try to love my wife and live our life the same as we would, and try to take lessons and encouragement from people who have been there before. And I'm saying this, it sounds confident, but I don't feel as confident as I'm saying it. That's just the only thing I can figure out to do right now. You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
power has always like lain with the the masses, right? With the majority, which are those of us who are not wealthy, right? Who don't have a large trust funds to fall back on. Like if we were to unite across different classes, we have the power. But the problem is that hate has become such a valuable and effective tool that it separates Latinos from queer people or able-bodied people from disabled folks. Like we have to align across those differences. And I don't know how we do that. But that's the only way we find safety. I messaged a friend of mine who's like a very strong community organizer from Milwaukee. He's trans, he's Black, his partner is non-binary, and he and his partner, they've been doing the work for a long time, right? And I messaged him and I was like, yo, I need a pastor right now. Like, I don't know what the fuck to do. And he's the first person I thought to message because a lot of people look to me. And so I wanted to message someone who understood that sort of weight or mantle. And what it came down to, what his advice basically was it sucked like this for a long time for a lot of people. The only way we're going to get through this is through solidarity and community. And so his um, sort of main recommendation was just take care of yourself, right? Like existence is an act of resistance right now, right? So to actually take care of your physical and mental being, right? Take care of your household and find community, especially where you are. If you can, reach across demographic differences and find people to support. And that's the best thing that we can do in this moment to stay like rooted and anchored. I don't, I want like some big picture answer and I just don't have one.
Yeah, speaking on community, yesterday we went to Paradigm Coffee and Music in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and that is the main, and I've taken you there, and
Yep.
I know you have love for that place too. So that is the reason, um back in 2012 when I was interviewing for a job, the whole reason I wanted to take the job was because there was a local
Hmm.
queer community coffee and music shop, and that was like holy shit, I've never experienced that, I've never had that.
Hmm.
And fast forward to now, and yesterday we were, Ember and I went out, and it was the owner's birthday, and so we wanted to wish her happy birthday in person, but they had a free concert and tacos, and the place was packed shoulder to
Hmm.
shoulder. 11 o'clock in the morning, just packed, good music. And so like I felt so safe,
Hmm.
and invited and welcome and free. And for that brief amount of time, like I didn't have to look over my fucking shoulder. Like there was
Hmm.
no, like that's the part that like kills me, is like I didn't have to look over my shoulder. I just got to exist, and every single person made eye contact with me, and it
Mhm.
felt safe, not judged. That
Yeah.
was huge. And
Yeah.
so hearing you say, have community and keep that the forefront, that right there is like your foundation. And I
Hmm.
think that's what's killing me right now, is to have to see both sides of it, to have community on one side of the spectrum on my social, on TikTok, not have community on Meta, and have the hatred
Hmm.
of people just coming at me that have never given me a chance to even see me as a human being.
Hmm.
And then to go out into a red state, into real life, and to navigate the questions of like, are you looking at me because you're confused? Are you looking at me because you hate my kind of people? Are you looking at me
Mhm.
because a list of reasons, you know?
Mhm.
And it already, I was already trained as a you know, woman in life to look over my
Mhm.
shoulder,
Right.
right? For all of the bad men out there.
Yeah.
I've already been trained to do that. And now it's not just men, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's a whole slew of people and you're like, "Oh my god, like
Yeah.
you hate people that much."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's people that should fundamentally be aligned with like us, right? It's like women and it's minorities and it's people who are disabled, like all of these different categories that have sort of drank the Kool-Aid. And part of me is worried that like that sort of hatred has become too like calcified to reach out and change people. And that's one of the moments where like I know what I should say, right? Love wins. I'm
Yeah.
not being sarcastic because it's wrong. I'm being sarcastic because I need a fucking answer, right?
Right, right,
But it's
exactly.
people that fundamentally we should be aligned. Our interests should be aligned
Mhm.
because there's no way that the ultra rich give two fucks about someone in rural Wisconsin who is literally like subsistence farming. There's no
Mhm.
way.
I just said it on our last recording. I'm like, make it make sense. Your broken down, busted pole barn with that
Mhm,
fucking Trump sign on it.
mhm.
Make it make fucking sense to me. Please,
Yep.
somebody make it make sense.
It doesn't.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if you look at the expressed outline of Project 2025, right? It's literally in there, like tax cuts to benefit the wealthy. Like these weren't hidden agendas. I
Mhm.
don't never in my life will I be able to comprehend people's ability to vote against their self-interest ever
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
ever. And I can't drive past the busted up like single wide with three non-working vehicles in the front yard that's overgrown in fucking Cattaraugus, New York, and be like, yeah, he cares about you, bro.
Yeah,
But watch out
exactly.
for those immigrants, you
You're
know?
so accurate, though.
I
Yeah.
just
What are
I don't
what are
get it.
your thoughts on all of these companies like backing out of DE&I? Like how is, cuz like I'm sitting here like, if my company that I work for, that I
Mhm.
dedicate my life to, does that, what does that mean for me?
Yeah. I this is like one of the threads that we like if we're gonna like make this situation better, I feel like you have to pull on individual threads. And one of the craziest threads to me is that diversity, equity, and inclusion is now a negative word, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Right, like a religion based on solidarity with the poor, the other, the widow, and the foreigner, this religion of Christianity, they're now saying keep DEI out of our sermons when a woman actually just preaches the fucking Bible, right? Like I don't understand how diversity, equity, and inclusion has become a negative thing.
Right.
It's almost like everything I was taught in kindergarten, they're now like, we're gonna take that back. Take
Mhm.
backsies, right?
It's a
And
lot of
I
take
don't
backsies. A
a
lot
lot.
right now.
And I don't even know what to do with corporations because I feel like corporations are so part and parcel with like the problems that we see in our society as a capitalist based society. Hashtag not an economist, hashtag don't know what would work better, but this ain't it, you know?
Mhm.
Um, I'm so glad in this moment that I work for myself. Cause like we got a DEI initiative, and that's the fact that we're all women, queer, differently abled, and we're enabling each other to work. That's the only thing I know about where I work. I don't know how we solve this problem of like big money companies that are suddenly like we don't need you anymore. I mean, I'm gonna have like a lot harder of a time shopping at Target, that's for sure,
I like the
because
idea of not shopping at those places anymore. I
yeah,
know a lot of people are doing it.
It's for
absolutely.
me, like I find it so interesting too is that, you know, with this division that everybody's creating and removing things that are so important to the world, for equality, and to be on it from the marketing side, to understand that when it comes to marketing, especially for consumer facing brands,
Mhm,
the target audience is usually 100% multicultural people,
mhm,
Hispanic and Black, because those are
mhm,
the bigger household families.
Mhm.
Okay. So those are the people you want to market to. And
Mhm.
that's why it's important for brands to have representation of Hispanic and people of color, Black people, to make sure you're targeting that demographic, right? Because they
Mhm.
want they want the majority of their sales to be with where the majority of the people are. Now
Mhm.
you start taking that away and excluding um
Mhm.
the equality side of it.
Mhm.
Like it seems so fucked up to me. It's like you're marketing to these people, but you're also saying fuck you, we don't care about you.
Exactly. And that's like that's cognitive dissonance, like, and that's happening on so many levels. I sometimes want to just like throw my hands up and say like I want to live my life. Like there are times where, particularly in my town, and particularly because I'm like a public facing community organizer, right? People will say like a Hobby Lobby came to our town. Hobby Lobby is a hashtag no based on their continued scorecard of just fucking anybody who's not rich, white, and Christian, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
I could never walk into Hobby Lobby in my town, or it would literally be like a paparazzi picture, someone on their cell phone, just like me in the fucking aisles with their great Christmas decorations or something, right? Like I can't do it, but sometimes I just want to I just want to live like anonymously and live, and
Mhm.
I don't think that's so much possible anymore in this world because there are so many. The problem is that money talks, right? And
Mhm.
the more we consolidate money within corporations that don't care, right? The more we empower that system. And it seems ridiculous and rigid and principled, but I would have to say that this is another moment when we could kick it back to people who have been oppressed for a very long time, particularly black, brown, indigenous, disabled peoples in specifically in America, right? We have to kick it back and see like how did they survive, like how did we survive, how did people of color survive a pre um civil rights era,
Mhm.
right? They shopped with each other, right? Like Black Wall Street, which the government ultimately burnt down. So dope. If you haven't read about that, please do, because it'll make you livid. Um, but like they shopped with each other, they traveled with each other, they communed with each other. We took care of we is essentially like the attitude that I've heard. And if that means not shopping at Target or Hobby Lobby or whatever,
Mhm.
I think I just have to get used to that idea of living like that sort of principled of an existence. Like I don't have the privilege to disregard that at this moment, you know?
Even
Yeah.
Walmart is on the list, you know? I mean, yeah,
It
it's
makes it incredibly difficult too in small town America because I'm pretty sure from what I've seen of like your area that it would be a similar struggle. Like
There's not a whole lot
Walmart,
of options.
yeah, like Walmart thrives
mhm.
on poor people that don't have a lot of options.
But Aldi's is a good place to go to and support.
You know
Yes, for
what though?
sure.
I think while yes, money is the ruler of all, there's also a lot of power in numbers. And I think like
Hmm.
it can almost become more powerful than money if it really got to that, if we could make it get to that point. And that's
I
why I'm
think
like,
that's the
even
key.
people like me that are straight passing, while some
Hmm.
people are like, yeah, use that to your advantage. I'm like, no, like,
Right.
don't, because then you're creating a weaker spot for people like you guys who can't do that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So, like, no, like, be loud, be proud, and like
Yeah.
create more power within ourselves.
I agree. No, I really think if I can put the anxiety aside,
Mhm.
um, and the negative self like talk loop that is so easy for me to get into, if I can put that aside, I think community and solidarity is the answer, which like is the heart of the workers' rights movement, right? It's the heart of the union movement. It's the heart of the civil rights movement. It's the heart of the disability advocacy movement. Like it is community and coming together. And I truly think that's the only way through. And part of the hard part of that now is like for us, right? Like we live in small town America. R.I.P. Denver, you're out. You now live in small town America.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. What a time to be here. But that's part of the problem. Like I worked in public health for a while, and that's part of the problem of delivering social services in rural America is literally like how the fuck do we get people connected? And I think that's why I don't really think people give a fuck. Well, I think behind the scenes, like on the surface, TikTok is about China and data and whatever, but behind the scenes, it's a concerted effort to literally just place a bomb inside the connectivity of marginalized communities. And I think that's part of the insidious strategy of placing such of disbanding TikTok or curtailing the algorithm, and then and then you follow that through with any meta companies because they ain't been about us for a while. It's like that's part of the strategy of this like movement that we're seeing is like get people to hate people and do not let people connect. And I almost wonder if part of the way forward for us is to figure out like that. This is going to be mind blowing, but like people did like network and connect before social media.
Mhm.
And I almost feel like I need to like go back and learn like how.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't get it, right?
Right.
But I need to talk to someone who's old and has done the work and be like,
Well,
okay,
yeah, because it does require more work when you take out the
yeah,
social media part of it. You do have to put in the work to be able to connect to the people when you
yeah.
have
And
something
it
like
does
TikTok.
and it does have to be a little bit more localized too, because like sometimes I think in a moment of oppression like we're seeing, it really matters that we band together with people geographically as much as like sort of demographically, if that makes sense. So like I have a strong group of people that I can message that are queer Christians. It's like something that just happened. I didn't even seek them out. It just happened over the past like 5-10 years for me. So I know I can message them, but they're from Baltimore. They're from, you know what I mean? They're from California. They're from Texas. They're from Chicago. So that's good. But I think I need to know, like, when push comes to shove, like, who on North Ninth Street
Who
can
can
I talk
physically
to?
show up.
Yep,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's scary when we live here, but at the same time, like when our window was busted through, there was a massive level of support that was shown to us. I mean, the people that showed up to help, the people, we got so many donuts that day that we ended up giving them back out. There, someone held a candlelight vigil in front of our salon. The brick impacted a sign that said the first Pride was a riot against police brutality, hashtag happy Pride, hashtag Black Lives Matter. But don't worry, the police investigated and it was not a hate crime. Don't worry. But we had a group of people who I only marginally knew. I knew them like socially adjacent, you know, and they showed up. They put plywood in the window and then they made that sign bigger on the whole window instead of just a
I
fourth
love
of the
it.
window the last time. And then actually that video was I was standing in front of that window when I made a video sort of calling out bullshit Christianity, particularly in my local town. And it went I got more views than we have people in our town overnight. And that was in the background of it. So those sorts of things do make a difference, right?
Well, and you have your shop and as a storefront to
Mhm.
host and welcome a community of people and
Mhm.
let them know like you're the safe space. You
Yeah.
don't have to go out and find the safe space because
Yep.
you've already created the safe space and people showed up. And so
Yep.
like you have that there. And that's how I felt
Yeah.
like going to Paradigm yesterday was
Yeah.
that's my safe space. That's the
Mhm.
reason why I was even drawn to move to Wisconsin
Mhm.
was because I never experienced something like that.
Mhm.
You know, the community should be thanking the people like, wow,
Yeah.
like Paradigm, thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Yeah.
having a safe space for community so people like me and you who don't always feel safe going other places
Mhm.
can exist
Well,
freely.
and I think it's important that like situations like what happened to your shop don't have to occur for even just allies to speak up. Like you don't
Mhm.
have to be gay to support gay people. You don't have to be
Correct.
black to support black people. Just
Mhm.
like don't wait until shit gets really bad to be
Mhm.
a good supportive human.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, that's the thing is allyship across demographic difference amongst the masses, right? Like there's an economic theory that I'm thinking about, uh, and I can't remember the name of it, but basically uniting across these differences within the same income bracket. Honestly, truly, I believe in my heart, and I think there's great research to show that the single biggest controlling and dividing factor in our country in particular at this moment is not race, It's not gender. It's not orientation. It's not ability. It's not religion. It's fucking money. It is class, right? And look at, if we were able to unite amongst lower class, that's where the statistical majority lies. That's the freaking work. Is that
But the thing is companies know that. People, brands, companies, they all know that because they're marketing to the
Correct.
people, like, to be like, you believe, like, go back to like Kellogg's when they're like, hey, poor people, eat cereal for dinner, buy our product. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like,
yeah, like the hidden parts became visible when that happened.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's
But at
it's
least
awful.
like I would rather a Trump supporter say it with their full fucking chest and let me know versus these cowards that just they're like, you have those family members that are silent and you're just like, you think I don't know that you voted for Trump? You think I don't know that you voted against me and my rights?
Yeah, my literal existence. And the problem is it wasn't hidden. We were telling you for so long this was what's going to happen, and then it was just out there. We weren't even telling you. They were just putting that shit out there for the longest.
Well, and that's where I want to say, like, I keep thinking, like, good, you guys get what you wanted, but it's like, it's not good. It's not good for anybody. They're like, whether they understand what's going to happen, you know, it was like a little devastating to sit the kids down and we're having conversation about possibly Canada shutting off electricity to Michigan, Wisconsin, New York, right? And they're like, well, what do we do? What happens? What can we use this? Can we use that? And like, you know, understanding the severity of like pushing out hate and getting hate back, right? And so trying to explain that to our children and help them understand why we have the voice that we have today and why we are pushing so hard for something, because there was a time where they were just like, you know, a couple of the kids in the house are like, go Trump. And we're like, wait, wait a second.
You need to understand what the fuck you're saying.
But kids don't. Why? Because Daddy Dumpy Pants got TikTok back. You know, the little image that said President Trump, you know, thank you, Daddy Dumpy Pants, for bringing TikTok back.
Yeah. No, never mind who were the one that started the move to get it, you know, disbanded.
But that's the whole, that's like the brainwash side of it, is like, create chaos, right? Create everybody to go in a fucking frenzy and then be
the hero.
And then be the hero and be like, okay, you guys, I got rid of all of this bad so we could get over here and be on this good. And it's like, oh my God, the damage is done. You think 4 years, it's generations.
I mean, there's already like a legal movement in process to let Trump run for a third term. No one else.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There was a I'm blanking on legal terms right now, but there was basically a measure introduced to a house in some state that would allow him to continue to run. That's something that's like already happening. So, I don't really know. I feel like we legitimately need to look at things like the Underground Railroad and the civil rights movement and, the political advocacy and action that happened in the Castro before Harvey Milk was elected. If you have you seen the movie Milk?
No,
okay, highly recommend you watch Milk, because Harvey Milk was the first openly gay elected official in the United States, and he ended up being assassinated. Sorry, I don't want to lose you. No, go ahead.
No, keep going. I was just gonna say, and like, I remember my brother telling me in Mexico City, I think it was last year, that they're non-binary.
I was in Mexico and that happened, which was only slightly terrifying, because I got the notification and I was like, wow, I don't know where it's better to be right now.
Yeah, devastating.
But we need to look back at those movements that happened pre-social media, and we need to be smart and analyze what worked. And we need to build systems that work if we don't have TikTok. right? Like there's a saying amongst abolitionists, right? And there's a saying amongst people who are fighting for civil rights and people who are fighting for racial justice. The saying is, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And I think that that's accurate. We can't rely on the tools provided by beneficial Daddy Trump. We can't rely on those tools to tear down the system.
Mhm.
I think we need to rely on the wisdom of our elders. And by our elders, I mean not just people who look like us, but people who know what the struggle is. And we need to get that game plan and figure out how it works in 2025 and 2026 and 2027. I would hope that this is something that the Democratic Party is looking at for 2029, 2028. I have no hope though, because the Democratic Party has failed to provide an answer to the strategy of just carpet bombing hate. They failed to provide an answer, so I don't know what that means. But also, I don't think that's my section of advocacy. Like I know a lot of folks who are working on sort of federal organizing. It's not. It's not my area of skill set. My area of skill set is building community.
Same.
But we have to look at the people who've done it before and rely on the wisdom of our elders. Like we have to.
Yeah, that's great advice. That is great advice. Oh, dude, I feel like I just need to like take some deep breaths and just like, I don't know, give us credit for showing up today
Yeah.
to in our busy schedule to meet and talk, as this is like heavy on our chest every day, but like even more importantly, you know, since
Yeah.
last week and rolling up our sleeves and going into the weeks that follow, and what we can do and how we can continue to build and have a strong community.
And I
Yeah.
think it's also important that while you're being loud and putting yourself out there, you're also protecting your mental health. So
Yes.
like
Yeah. It's a
everybody
both
needs to
and.
remember that. Specifically, like I have watched Front Row Kirby get talked to certain ways on social, and I have watched what it has done to them physically. Like over the last few days, there has been a physical difference that I have noticed. And it's important to protect your mental health, even if you are trying to be loud and say, I'm here. Just, understand where you're putting yourself and when you're putting yourself there and what it's doing to you.
Yeah, there are some good resources out there that I found when I think it was around the George Floyd situation. Was when the first time I encountered them. Certainly not the first they've been out there, but there's a lot of stuff out there, sort of like the self-care toolkit for advocates. I know Black Lives Matter has that on their website, so they have some really good information for maintaining your own health and being while being an activist and an advocate. That's one I know of for sure. It was on the Black Lives Matter website. Actually, the founders of Black Lives Matter have some incredibly amazing wisdom that they share. Alicia Garza has an amazing book about what it takes to advocate for your community and to be a community organizer. But they definitely have some good self-care info out there too. Like just if you look up like self-care for activists, right? That shit is important. And I think
It is.
it's a dual prong thing, right? Like we have to continue, like you guys got to continue your platform, but that means that, you have to support each other and people have to support you. Like that's the only way this works is by collective action, right? And so that's why I think things like your platform are super important. And then on the flip side, on the non-public facing side, right, from partner to partner or close friend to close friend, we need to share those sorts of resources because Audre Lorde, who is a Black lesbian writer and activist, she said that, my existence is an act of resistance. My existence is an act of political or civil disobedience, right? And so we have to, on the personal side, make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Now, that's easier said than done because I was just describing to you at the beginning my anxiety attacks I walk through Walmart.
I think it's easy to lose yourself when you're surrounding your mental state with everything happening around you and you're not like sitting within.
I don't want to turn it off because I want to hear everything. I want to know what's being said. I want to know what to look out for, and I want to know what to react to and be, concerned with. I will say personally, I've always had like underlining anxiety and like ADHD and all that. You've witnessed in person and you were like, holy shit, right? There's a lot of great qualities that come with being like a ball of fire energy and being hyper creative and doing a lot of things and having a racing mind. What I have experienced since Trump has taken office is racing heart that just like it
Mhm.
feels like it's beating out of my chest to the point.
But at the same time, while it's this racy heart that consumes you, you also just feel kind of like paralyzed. Like you don't want to do
Yes.
anything. You don't want to leave the house. You don't want to leave your bed. You don't want to
Yep.
talk. You don't
Right.
want to scroll. You don't want to do anything. It's a
Yeah.
weird place to be in.
It
And
is. It's
I was
weird,
gonna mention,
especially for public facing people.
Yes.
yeah, 100%. And Ember has started to check my
Your pulse.
pulse with the little thing, just like to make sure, like, are you having an
Mhm.
anxiety attack? Is this, do we need to be, because I was like, I don't know what is happening. And I'm like, this is when it started. And it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That adds up.
Mhm.
Another piece, and I know we're almost at time, another piece I wanted to add about community is that we talked about this a little bit on our last podcast episode. We did start a Discord, and yes, both of us are new to Discord and learning it, but we shared that quickly while TikTok was in the midst of being banned and not banned and all of that. And people have started jumping over to this community we've started on Discord, and it is safe and welcome all people.
And it'll stay that way.
And it'll stay that
I
way.
think-
And people are getting to know each other, and that's a great way to keep community for the people that might feel like they're the only support and community they have is on social right now, and that's fucking scary.
Yeah, there is. I feel like Discord and Signal are two of the most like helpful tools right now because Signal's encrypted.
Yep.
So like things from there cannot just be like, I don't know, easily subpoenaed or like screenshot and sent because you have to have someone specifically invite you to the chat. But I think communities like Discord and apps like Signal are places that do need to be looked at because they're not like, from what I understand, they're not algorithm based. So no one else is choosing how the information is disseminated. Does that make it a little bit harder? Right? Yeah, probably because your shit's not going to go, like your Discord isn't going to go viral. But I think having those tools in place and getting people to those tools while using something like TikTok is absolutely helpful.
100%.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like we could talk for hours. I know we got to get back to our busy day and keep fighting the hard fight.
Yeah, we're due for like a hangout session sometime soon too. So
Yeah.
100%. Well, thank you so much for always like sharing all your wealth and wisdom. Wealth of
I
wisdom.
got no wealth. no wealth.
I was like,
Your
well-
wealth in knowledge.
Oh, there
Yeah,
we
and
go.
knowledge. Like that's more valuable than fucking any stack of dollar bills.
I will say there's at least 5 words that you spit during this that I will go back and I will text you and be like, just give me the yeah.
Give me a
the
little bit
definition
more.
on this one.
There
or
was
that
like
one.
a phobia word and I was like, take note of that one because I have no fucking idea.
This is a lot of what I went to school for. So when I'm frustrated about not like currently being employed in my field of study, I at least remind myself that there's so much I learned because of like where and how I studied. So we'll take that. But currently Credit Karma reminds me regularly that my net worth is negative $85,000. So
You know
fuck
what?
you,
You're
Credit
smart. Just take it. And just
We'll take
it.
Oh my gosh.
We'll take it.